Are you somebody that struggles with symptoms more at ovulation than you do at your period? Or maybe you're somebody that struggles with adverse symptoms like irritability, bloating, and breast tenderness, both at ovulation as well as just before your period. If any of these things are challenges for you, join me this week as we take a look at why sometimes you're more symptomatic at ovulation than you think you should be and what you can do about it. Hi, I'm Adrienne Irizarry. I'm an Eastern medicine practitioner who is passionate about women's health and helping women live their best lives. My goal is to put you in the driver's seat of your menstrual health, offering period solutions for a symptom-free life. Statements made in this program are for educational purposes only and not intended as a substitution for medical consultation or advice. We do not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure any diseases. This podcast is inclusive and welcomes all gender identities. The focus of the program is on biological function, and we will use the term women throughout, but it is referencing physiological and social challenges for biology, not identity. Come as you are, I am happy you're here and welcome all performances of identity. I hope you find something helpful in this show. Welcome back to another episode of the Reproductive Rebel podcast. I have had a string of clients who have come in recently complaining about what they call PMS symptoms at ovulation, meaning that they are pretty convinced their period is coming because of all the adverse symptoms that they are experiencing, only to find that their period actually arrives 14 days later like it's supposed to. So why does this happen? For some people, they experience true PMS, premenstrual syndrome, leading up to the period actually arriving. For some people, they describe symptoms that are similar to PMS, bloating, irritability, breast tenderness, and all of these things are happening at ovulation. And then once ovulation passes, they start feeling like a normal person again until their period arrives, or until PMS truly arrives just before their period does. So why does this happen? In Chinese medicine, there is this understanding that's called liver qi stagnation, and that correlates with stress. Any of you out there stressed? I kind of think that in our modern world, you kind of don't have a choice. Stress is something that we eat for breakfast. We pride ourselves on, and it can affect the way that our cycle shows up. Now, a lot of people think symptoms are correlated with the onset of the period, but for many of the clients that walk in the door to see me, they actually complain about, I don't know why, but in the middle of the month, I get this stabby or pinchy pain, and I feel like my boobs are huge and swollen and sore, and I feel bloated and irritable. And then after a few days, it stops. And it's like I'm waiting for my period to start early, but it never comes. So let's go back to what we talked about in the early part of season 2. So if you are just joining us, check out episode 3 through 7 in season 2. I go step by step through each of the phases of the cycle. You also can check out Body Basics, which is my course that talks through how the phases of your cycle work. But ovulation is a qi event. Okay, it's an energetic event, and it is the little small micro event that kicks off the luteal phase, or the second half of your cycle. And if there's not enough energy, or if that energy is stuck, i.e. liver qi stagnation, then we can get symptomatic during this period of time. So, okay, we live in a stressful world. What can we do about it, right? The first thing that I would encourage you to do is learn about the phases of your cycle. so that you have an understanding of how your energy is supposed to change from day to day, one segment of your cycle to the next. Because we live and work in a world that is built for a 24-hour testosterone cycle. It is not built for a 28 to 30 day hormone cycle that you will find in bleeding bodies. Because of that, we are expected to work at the same pace, same cadence, day in and day out. We are expected to be productive at the same level, day in and day out, because that's what a testosterone dominant body can do. And that's not how a 28 to 30 day bleeding body is designed to function. We're given gifts in each of the phases of our cycle, and I discuss some of those in detail in Body Basics. I also have a course called Cycle Productivity Secrets that teaches you how to plan your work around the gifts that you get in each of the phases of your cycle. But when you know more about how your cycle functions, you're able to work with the changing energy in your body rather than against it. Because the more we try to swim upstream against the river and work against the natural ebb and flow of our cycle throughout the month, we create the right environment for liver qi stagnation to abound. So you're pushing yourself beyond your limits. You're pushing yourself beyond the limits that different hormones allow you to function at. And then we're scratching our heads and totally puzzled as to why we're having these symptoms. So liver qi stagnation is the culprit behind, or that's the official Chinese medicine understanding of why this can happen. And for some people, ovulation can be absolutely miserable, and then the onset of their period is no big deal. For some people, it's in both places, at ovulation and at the onset of their period. So how can we deal with this? Finding ways to cope with stress is going to be really important. Many of us work outside the bounds of what our body is designed for. I can tell you that one of the greatest gifts that pregnancy has given me is it has really shown a big spotlight on how often, even me, I teach you guys about this stuff, and yet I still struggle with working beyond the capacity of my body sometimes. And my body tells me when I do that. But pregnancy has made me hyper aware because it's not just about me anymore, right? It's so easy for us to put ourselves at the bottom of the list, not prioritize taking care of ourselves. Our body is screaming for rest and we can hear the call, but we're like, oh, but I have family coming in from out of town and I have this party that I have to go to and I just don't have energy, but I need to go on this visit or see these people because I've been putting them off. Like, we live in an overscheduled world. We do. We live in an overscheduled world. We are expected to be in spring and summer energy all the time. Going, producing, we celebrate hard work and constantly producing and how much we build our value and self-worth. If you haven't heard the episode that I did with Angela Castrino about a woman's worth, I highly recommend you go check that one out. It was an excellent episode that I did with Angela Castrino, who is a food prep chef. And she was finding that with her clients, everybody else in the family was eating the things that she was making. And sometimes her clients wouldn't even prioritize themselves, predominantly female, to allow themselves the time to sit down and actually enjoy a meal because they needed to be constantly in motion. In that episode, we talked about the guilt and shame that we feel when we sit still for 5 minutes or our partner walks in the door when we've been sitting still, and that guilt or shame that shoots through us because we're not producing, right? I'm going to pause this incredible episode to share an opportunity for you to join me as a reproductive rebel. As you know, I'm a holistic women's health practitioner who practices with a focus in East Asian medicine. I truly am one of a kind in the way that I practice, and that is a part of what makes me a rebel. I am here to disrupt a healthcare model for women and provide natural and effective solutions for all phases in a woman's life. Do you feel called to make a difference in women's health? Whether you are already a practitioner working in this space, wishing to add to your toolkit, or you are just a passionate rebel with a calling to make a difference for others, as I was at the start of my career in this field, the Holistic Women's Health Practitioner Program is open for enrollment. I am looking for passionate, committed, and heart-centered people who desire to make a difference in the women's health space and desire to make it a place where women feel seen and heard, where their needs and concerns aren't gaslit, but really taken seriously and met with compassion and education to help them reach their goals. Does this sound like you? If so, please check out the program link in the show notes and schedule a one-on-one talk with me or join a free information session. Or if you know that without a doubt this is where you want to go, enroll and get started today. Together, we will make a difference for the future of women's healthcare. I can't wait for you to join me. And now, back to the show. And that is the container that we live in. But that is the container that creates these painful symptoms, these emotional symptoms that people can feel irritable, angry at people around them until ovulation passes, because you've literally spent everything that you've got and you're tired. And now your body is trying to do this big energetic event and you just don't simply have gas in the tank. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just working outside of the capacity of your body. So pelvic steaming can be a really great way to reduce some of this pain. Why? It helps to create movement in the chi so that things aren't stuck. When things are stuck anywhere in the body, whether we're talking about ovulation or pain in your leg or things like that, it means that fluids or energy or both are stuck in a particular area. Ovulation pain, period pain is no exception to that. So if we're able to support the proper movement and regulate the flow of chi and support the movement of blood and other fluids in the body, there's no way for things to get stuck. So when I say stuck, think about it like this. This is kind of like when you're driving on the interstate, right? And there's a car accident in front of you. Maybe you're on a 4-lane highway. This accident comprises 2 out of the 4 lanes. Everybody comes to a standstill, then slowly people start to fold themselves in to the 2 lanes, and then they go around the accident, and then traffic speeds up again. Okay, that's a good illustration of what stagnation looks like. Stasis is when you have a 4-lane accident. Everybody comes to a complete stop, and until you start moving the things that are blocking the roadway, nobody can go anywhere. And then slowly things start to pick up and travel begins to resume as they clear more and more of the debris off the highway. That is a really good illustration for what we're talking about. When you have pain, there's an accident on this energetic highway in the body, and it doesn't allow you to show up in the best way possible. A lot of times you'll have other symptoms that'll go along with it, but the most common things that I hear from my clients are breast tenderness, irritability, and pain. And all of those things are a sign that energy, and in some cases fluids, are stuck and they're not moving very well. So pelvic steaming, acupuncture, acutonics, allowing yourself to go out for walks. And I'm not saying power walking with a mission, folks. I'm saying gentle walks where If any of you follow me, and I hope you do, because I include a lot of really good information on my Instagram, but if you're following me at Moon Essence Me, you'll see in my Instagram stories quite often, I'll post random pictures of flowers and foliage and clouds and stuff like that. And it seems totally random, but I actually do it because it is my way of forcing myself to slow down. And when I go for a walk, to walk with the intention of slowing down and literally and figuratively smelling the roses instead of walking like a woman with a mission and a purpose. I mean, sure. Do I do that? Yeah. I walk down to the post office. I walk to the mailbox in order to be able to get my blood flowing. But when you're able to slow down and enjoy some of those little things in life and literally meander, it takes that fight or flight feeling like you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, which is what causes liver G stagnation, and brings you down into your body, into that parasympathetic, into that rest and digest, right? And tells your nervous system, hey, I'm not being chased by a tiger anymore. I can actually stop and smell the roses. And being able to give our bodies that break and float back and forth, because we need to have the flexibility in our nervous system to get ourselves away from the tiger, but then also be able to switch it off again. And a lot of people have a hard time switching back because we're so overly stressed out, overscheduled, and overstimulated all the time. So I would encourage you to make it a regular practice to literally take a walk and go smell the roses. Walk slowly. You're not walking with distance in mind or calorie burn in mind. You're walking to observe things in nature around you, to hear the birds, to smell the fresh air. Taking note of those kinds of things can help you slow the pace down. Slowing that pace helps move the blockages out of these interstate highways that acupuncture recognizes in the body. Sometimes acupuncture refers to them as waterways. I like thinking about them kind of like interstates because I feel like traffic jams and traffic challenges is something that we can all relate to. But when we're able to slow things down, our energy doesn't get stuck. And something as simple as a nice, slow, leisurely walk on a regular basis. I'm not talking once and it's going to fix everything. I'm talking about making this a meaningful part of your day to day. And in making it a meaningful part of your everyday routine, even if it's 10 or 15 minutes, that adds up. And you will notice a very different experience with the symptoms that you get around ovulation. Slowing down and smelling the roses, bringing in another modality like acupuncture or acutonics, which is acupuncture with sound. So for those of you who are needle adverse, I would highly recommend checking out acutonics because you're using the same points and meridians that you would in acupuncture. Or something like pelvic steaming. Pelvic steaming is so good for dealing with ovulation pain. It helps to get energy and fluids moving. There's a relaxation that happens in the muscles, not only in your pelvis, but pelvic steaming actually affects 37 muscle groups in your body. How cool is that? So the more you're able to bring warmth and relaxation and calm to your system and celebrate those things, the more you're able to naturally decrease the difficulty that you're having with symptoms around ovulation. If you're interested in more information about either pelvic steaming and working with me, or if you want to check out the Body Basics course, there will be information in the show notes. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Reproductive Rebel. Reproductive Rebel is recorded by certified peri-steam hydrotherapist and acutonics practitioner, herbalist, and Chinese nutritional therapist, Adrienne Irizarry of Moon Essence LLC. If you are interested in setting up an appointment for one-on-one support, ordering from our store, or checking out our course offerings, visit our website at moonessence.life. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter and get insider information on upcoming events and offerings. Join the conversation. Like and follow us at MoonEssenceMe on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Your voices make this program possible. Thank you all for your continued support.